Hello, everybody. It's Isabel here, played by Jared Spilfogle. We're going to go over my trauma narrative today. So, who am I? My name is Isabel. I'm a 23-year-old woman. I'm Puerto Rican lineage, living in New York City. And I was a school teacher, and currently now I'm a waitress. So, just for some context, for those of you that don't understand what a trauma narrative is this is an opportunity for me to express some of my painful memories and really shows the awareness of the story. And it's basically a physiological technique, psychological technique to help survivors of trauma make sense of their experiences while also acting as a form of exposure to painful memories. Why is this important? Me and my therapist have working together for many months, sifting through what happened and why. This is the conclusion of my work to show my growth and bring a full understanding to my trauma. So I think in order to really understand my full story, it has to go all the way back to childhood. I lived in New York City as a young girl with my mother and my father, Puerto Rican descent. My father was an abuser. Unfortunately, he sexually abused me my whole childhood and physically abused me as well. And growing up, I don't remember a lot. And it wasn't until recently doing all this work with my therapist that I really started to understand that the trauma and the hurt and the pain and the fear that caused me. But I think it's an important context to have because it's the reason why all of this caused so much more trauma on top of that original event. And so the full story is basically it was my 23rd birthday. I was out with my brother-in-law and his new girlfriend, and we were in the city celebrating. Um, and it was the end of the night. Everyone was pretty much tired and didn't want to stay out much longer. And for some reason that night, I felt like I was okay to go on my own home. I was very insistent. My brother-in-law wanted to help. The people around me were like, "No, let me buy you a cab. Let me take you home." And I don't. For some reason, I just felt so like I just want to go home. I just want to like go on my own. Unfortunately, so I had to walk down to the subway, and the subway was dark. It was empty. I remember feeling, as I was walking through, feeling a bad feeling in my gut, feeling alone, feeling scared. And as I was walking down, I saw a homeless man. I helped him pick up some of his things. And I remember waiting in front of the train and being alone. It was dark. And at the time, that was all that I remembered before therapy. I remember getting on the train and waking up at home. And I don't remember anything else up to that point until I started going to therapy. But now I know that what actually happened was that a man, now that we know he was a police officer, grabbed me from behind, choked me, dragged me to a secluded area in the subway, and abused me and raped me. I was terrified. I was crying. I was screaming, begging for him to stop. But the event was so triggering and so traumatizing, not only because of that event, but also because of my childhood, that I blocked it out. And I didn't start to realize what happened until later in this story. So I blocked it out. I remember going home. My husband at the time was a military in Iraq, and we'd been FaceTiming and connecting, and he was about 2 days out, set to be coming home. And it's hard to talk about, but he never ended up coming home. He passed away and died in the line of duty before he could get home, and that really set me off into full-blown disassociation and visions. And that event was extremely traumatizing. because he was like my main support system. I was living with his family at the time. Like we were all very close and loved, and that moment really there sparked even more of the rest. I remember feeling completely empty, numb, depressed, going to school as a teacher, depressed. And that's when I started having images of a young girl that I was teaching, and that this young girl, I remember her name being Elise and being like, oh, wow, I wish that that was my name growing up. And I remember having a really close bond with this girl and finding out that she was being abused at home, similar to how I was. Um, and it wasn't, and I started seeing these like what I called like angels. And I started seeing these images of these white skinned people showing up places and giving me messages. And I remember feeling really frightened and scared and not knowing what it was. And now I know that Elise and the angel images were all images of my disassociation, of my trauma. My PTSD was so intense that I started making up stories and things to protect myself. And Elise was actually a projection of my own young daughter self that I wanted to protect, and my own inner child that I started developing a relationship with, that although it was scary in the moment, that inner child projection really helped me come to terms and start unraveling my childhood trauma. I didn't understand, at this time, I was still completely dissociated from my experience in the subway. I had no idea that really what happened. I didn't know deep down. And I realized that I was pregnant after one night I got sick. And um, in my mind, I was like, I haven't been with anybody romantically. My husband just passed away. He's been gone for a year. And I felt like it was a gift from God, is what the story I came up with in my mind. And so I told my brother-in-law's family, not really understanding that that wasn't real and that people weren't going to believe that. And so I told them out of excitement. And now I know, obviously, I was upset in the moment and felt isolated, that they didn't understand. But now I understand that, like, they felt like I had maybe cheated on their son, and I was trying to be excited. And so they were very, very hurt. And I was asked to leave that house. And I was asked to move in with my mom and my dad again, which was extremely difficult and started bringing up even more memories. And, due to legal reasons, I don't want to talk about what happened next with my family and with my father. However, through a series of events being with my father, I realized that all the trauma came back, and that I had been raped by him, and that I had been raped by the police officer, and that these images weren't real. And so that's where I was mandated to go to therapy and start seeking therapy, which has been really the game changer for me, and has changed my life. My therapist focused on CBT and psychoeducation first, and a lot of complex trauma work and EMDR. And so we've done a lot of like understanding like how our thoughts affect our feelings and affect our behaviors, and how I created these multiple different personalities and ideas to protect these this PTSD and these feelings. So really dove most deep into that first, just trying to like unravel the story and unravel all my pain. And through that experience, I was having a lot of visceral reactions physically. And so we used meditation and breathing techniques to mitigate those experiences and really work on that. And then as I got a little bit more advanced and comfortable, we started working on cognitive and emotional regulation. And so really not getting control, but understanding our feelings and understanding how to not react to the feelings, and noticing how our internal emotional states affect our external reactions. And I've been starting to work on that, and understanding my triggers and that. And so, I think now really I'm just going to continue on the healing journey. I use this picture here because I have understanding, I have awareness, and I'm in the confrontation phase right now where I'm really working on confronting all of this and confronting my fears and learning to trust again and rebuilding relationships with my husband's late family. And yeah, I think, I'm in a good place. It's still difficult, it's still hard, but um, things are looking up. So I appreciate you guys all for being here with me.